Today on the Comic Book Report, we're going to be doing a first look at The Warden by David Tim Jr., Cody Caramal, and Matthew Pereira from Iron Clad Comics. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, this is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we have an opportunity to take a first look at a recently released comic. This is the volume 1 of a little graphic novel, a part 1 for one entitled The Warden. What is very cool is that this appears to be the first comic from a new comic book publisher, Iron Clad Comics. You can find them on various social media. I know they had a Kickstarter at one point, and they have their own website, ironcladcomics.net. At any rate, pretty fun little book here. I have the first trade paperback here, along with a custom kind of printed newspaper that's supposed to be in canon within the world, I believe, which is very fun, along with what looks like a sticker and possibly a business card, all with the Ironclad Comics logo. Really fun, honestly, I don't know a ton about Ironclad Comics. Like I said, there seemed to be a new publisher coming out, wanting to give more variety in the superhero kind of vigilante comic book space. Again, I can only really judge this based on what I've read here with The Warden, but so far so good. I think that this is a really well-made little collection, and I'm honestly eager to read a bit more. Because this is such a new release and things like that, I'm not going to really go too much into spoiler territory, just give you a little bit of a sampling of what this is and what I thought of it, a look at the collection and some of the art, things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I'll just quickly inventory what I got in the box for this here. I got a little business card with what appears to be a QR code for Ironclad. Very cool. Then the next one is a little bit bigger. It looks like a sticker for, this company, Ironclad Comics. I'm not going to take it off the little sticky because I'm going to go ahead and save this for now. After that, I do have the actual paperback collection. So this is a standard size trade paperback, what you could kind of expect from like Marvel or DC or a lot of these other publishers. Same like trim size, things like that. It is a bit narrow. It's not an overly large collection. So it has a volume 1 on the spine, but honestly, this is more of a part 1 of what I'm assuming is the first major story arc. After that, we do have this fully produced kind of newspaper print. Mass Vigilante emerges from a Detroit newspaper or fictitious newspaper, possibly. That's, again, in-universe, kind of talking about the events of this book or kind of just, again, the in-universe kind of stuff. This was a very cool little feature to come alongside this book, and I think it really helped with the immersion overall. I never really see things like this with comic books. It was a really cool experience, and honestly, I don't really see much of print newspapers anymore, and definitely nostalgic, love to see it. Now a couple more quick looks at the paperback itself, the front cover, spine, and back. I really love this. It's all black and white. It's very moody and kind of atmospheric. The art on the front almost looks like a pen and ink style. We got some cross-hatching even on his helmet, things like that. Love the typeface of the font for the Warden. It just really works. We have the Ironclad Comics logo on it. It all looks really professional and really well made. Something that you wouldn't really get a sense of over video without me explaining it is the actual material for this trade paperback. It's definitely still paper, but it almost has kind of a satiny, kind of velvety finish to it. Like when you put your fingers on it, they kind of smooth and slide over it. It's not overly glossed or polished or kind of plastic feeling. It's almost hard to describe, but there's like a light velvety quality to it in some ways. The only other paperback I have like this in my collection is kind of the the Batman Reborn trade paperback. I think it's Batman Reborn, the early like Batman and Robin for Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne during Morrison's era. The paperbacks I have for those have this kind of same finish, but it's a really nice touch. Now, a quick look at the glued binding here. Not too much gutter loss, which is nice. It is a smaller collection. You might have a little bit going into that gutter there, but pretty standard for what I expect for a trade paperback. No complaints with the binding on this guy. Next up, back to that newspaper. Again, I'm not going to go over spoilers. I'm not going to read this to you or anything like that. I just want to give you a better look of the newspaper itself. It does open up, so you have a front page, the full spread page, and then the back of the newspaper, all with like articles and advertisements. And again, I kind of skimmed this, but it's very, very cool to see how much thought was put into something like this. It's really a whole package, and it really, again, it helps with immersion. It makes you feel like you're part of the world, and it's a little more than just the paperback itself. And I think that's a really fun facet. It's also printed on a newspaper like paper. You know, it's not like a Kinko's copy paper kind of paper stock. It's newsprint. And I really like that as well. Like I said, it's very nostalgic. It has its own vibe to it. This whole work feels kind of like a gritty vigilante crime noir. So having a physical newspaper print in your hands, it's just added to the whole experience, and I really loved it. Okay, and next I'm going to go ahead and start flipping through this actual collection. Again, I'm going to tread softly and try to avoid spoilers, but give you a little sampling of what you can expect, some of the early pages, and just to see some of the artwork. So again, this is kind of a gritty vigilante crime noir kind of book, and it has a lot of great atmosphere and so much of what I like within this genre. Essentially, it gives us an origin story for this character, the Warden, who is born under a kind of unique set of circumstances, and you get the feeling like he's a little bit something special. We then flash forward 26 years to the scene of a crime in action. We have someone stealing kids off the street in a really scary mask. From there, we go jumping around some of our lead characters. We have people kind of investigating these disappearances. We get to meet some law enforcement officers. We get to see people that work for newspapers, things like that. And then we have our character kind of looming in the background. We see little exploits of his strength and kind of durability. And as we go through the pages, we get to learn more about this whole central cast of characters, and we get to see the emergence of this character who's going to presumably right wrongs and maybe try to find this abductor. What I really enjoy about the storytelling here, I enjoy a few things, but what I really like is the characters are really well developed. They feel multidimensional, and I feel like even though we're playing with, I don't know if I'm going to say archetypal, but we're playing on ground that I feel like I've seen some of narratives like this before, but they're just done in a way that really has a great attention to detail. It's a great superhero origin story that just feels so organic. It feels like a living, breathing extension of something you might see in everyday life, which is pretty exceptional. The art direction, as well as the coloring too, I think is absolutely fantastic. The coloring just jumps right off the page. We have a lot of great kind of cooler color palettes, a couple splashes of warmth here and there, but everything just really pops nicely. I feel like when we're in more mundane spaces, the color palette can come across a bit more neutral and muted, and when we have these kind of extreme environments or right in the middle of the action, things get more dramatic looking as far as the coloring goes, and I loved that. All the actual character models for the character are really specific and nailed down. I really liked that. I think these characters look more realistic rather than cartoony or animated, and I think that helped with the sort of gritty, authentic feel of the work overall. I do think that this is a case where the art matches the narrative so that the storytelling experience just feels so cohesive and working together as one. Now I'll go ahead and share a couple more quick looks at some of the art in this collection. Again, I just think it's jaw-dropping. I love the coloring on this. I think it really pops. There's a quality to this art too that reminds me of when I read series like Gotham Central over at DC, or some of those kind of grittier superhero-based comics. I think it's right in line with some of that. I think the character models, if anything, are a bit more detailed. But yeah, it just feels really great. It's evocative of this genre space for me in comics already, and that's a really good complimentary thing I could say. I feel like after reading part 1, I'm absolutely invested in this world, these characters, and I for one am eager to see part 2. Again, I don't want to go into too many spoilers. I hope people pick this up for themselves, but from what I've read so far, I think there's a lot more here than maybe I would have assumed just picking it up. And that is our first look at the Warden from Iron Clad Comics. Like I said, if you want to learn more about this book or their projects, definitely check out their website, ironcladcomics.net. But yeah, absolutely a brilliant and well-made little product here. I was happy I had a chance to take a look. Thanks everyone, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to give this video a like, a comment, and maybe check out another video on your way out. Thanks, have a good one.